Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things I've learned along the way as I have grown up to be the person that I am today with 3 crazy dogs, 2 of which are sitting right by my side. So anyway, I love this channel so much, and I've kind of been trying to think outside the box as far as different stories to tell on here, stories that, are current to what's going on in my mind at that moment. And since I just, one of the things I do on a daily basis is sit around with my friends and just tell stories. And, Tanya and I, my best friend, it's her birthday today. Happy birthday, Tanya. I just did a whole video about her yesterday. But, Tanya and I will get fountain pops late at night and drive around and tell each other stories from, growing up, our childhood, things that we still don't know about each other after 21 years, which is incredible. Alex and I will do the same thing, sitting around on vacations, by the pool, by the beach, at home, in bed, those kinds of things. And I love just chatting, and that's how this channel is starting to feel for me. It's feeling like, I'm just sitting down and I'm like, let me tell you guys what my thoughts are, what I'm thinking about things. And I love it because it feels like I'm sharing parts of my life, but at the same time, it feels casual, and I really enjoy it. And I'm finding that the people that watch this channel watch my vlog as well, and those are 2 probably of my favorite channels. So anyway, I wanted to share something today that I've been thinking about recently. I have been talking, I've jokingly on my main channel, I've been saying that I need readers, and I'm going to be one of the only drama channels that has bifocals, readers and stuff. But recently, I've been having a really hard time seeing. So for example, if I'm, reading something, I'll go I have to go like this, and with menus and things. I don't like this. I don't like it. And it's not that I am bothered by it because it's a sign of getting older, which it is. I don't like it because it's kind of like you start passing those things that you're like, okay, I am older now. I can't go back to this. And what's really interesting is that I just had an eye check not too long ago, and she said that my eyes were completely fine. And I said, I mean, not completely fine. I wear contacts. My prescription is actually, I'm negative 0.25 in both eyes. And so she said, I had her check for bifocal. She's like, no, you don't need it. You're completely fine. She's like, in fact, your reading is really great. I'm nearsighted. And so is that negative 2.5? That's what my contacts, my glasses say. But anyway, I just do what they tell me to do. Life is so much easier, I have found, when you just do what people tell you to do, okay? If you work somewhere and they say, show up at 8 o'clock, leave at 4:30, show up at 8 o'clock, leave at 4:30, Years and years and years ago, I saw this Oprah Winfrey show, and I haven't talked about Oprah on here in a while. I saw this Oprah Winfrey show, and she was interviewing kids that were good kids, because she said that there was so much attention on kids that make poor choices. I do not believe in bad kids. I believe that there are kids out there that make poor choices. I think there are adults that make poor choices. Do I think there are truly some really evil people out there? Yes, that has been proven to me. I think some people that are organically, mentally off and are serial killers and things like that. But that's not for this video. Anyway, she was talking in the video, and I will never forget, she was talking to this one young lady, and she was asking her, the girl got a 4.0, and she had a job on the side. She did community service for a, retirement home. She donated, but gave some of her money to her parents to help them pay bills. And she had never done a drug. She had never drank. She would go to parties, but she would leave by 10 to be at home by her curfew, and she was just a really good kid. And when Oprah said to her, why do you always make good choices? And the girl looked at her like Oprah was crazy, and she goes, it's easier. She goes, it's easier than always getting yourself out of trouble or trying to find an excuse or a lie. She goes, it's just easier to be a better person. And I remember seeing that, and I thought, it was such an aha moment for me, because the majority of my life I had spent getting myself out of trouble and getting myself out of just predicaments in my life, right? That it would have just been easier for me to make the right decision. And I'm not talking about drugs and alcohol and my addiction, because that's a whole different piece, but a lot of the behaviors that went along with that, So anyway, I've been thinking a lot about the getting older thing the last couple days, and I don't know even why I shared all that with you, but I like that story. So anyway, like I said, we're having a little coffee clutch up in the kitchen, so watch me in the kitchen or in your bathroom or wherever. Hey, I'm in your bathroom right now. Okay, so anyway, if you're doing your makeup, I'm in your bathroom. Hope you're not sitting up on the pot. All right, but anyway, you guys are like, oh, this is a little bit of a sassier side of Peter on this channel. Anyway, because it's kind of a funnier video, but it is kind of like, it's not sad, it's just kind of like something that's been going through my head lately. So Tanya, my best friend, whose birthday it is today, she has been having a really hard time seeing at night while she drives. And Tanya is the night rider. I mean, she just is. She loves to drive at night. And I love to drive at night. Well, I have started noticing that I'm having a harder time seeing like distances away. Not really bad, but like on stormy nights or foggy nights, I don't see as well as I used to. And then there's the reader thing, right? You know, with needing like to have bifocals and all that kind of stuff. So I was talking to a friend the other day, and I was like, you know what bothers me about it is this, is that my mother started becoming this very fearful person later in her life. Like, she wasn't always like that. You know, she wasn't this person that was afraid to drive at night. You know, she wouldn't drive on interstates. If it would take you 5 minutes to get from point A to point B on an interstate, my mother would take all side roads, and it would take her half an hour. True story. You know, she had all this fear inside of her that stopped her from doing things that she wanted to do in her life. And it always bothered me because when I was younger, I didn't relate to that. But now as I get older, I kind of understand it. You know, we have all these built-in fear mechanisms. Well, it's like, you know, President Roosevelt said, there's nothing to fear but fear itself. You know, it's like, fear is a self-created illusion that we play into. And we can uncreate that, you know. We can, you know, take it away and break it down and see what it's really like. So I was thinking about my mom today, and I said I was going to show this picture on here. I talked about this in a vlog, but this is a picture of my mother. Are you ready? From her senior year in high school. So there she is. Hey, Mom. Do you think we look alike? People say we do, but I don't think we do. Okay. Now, my mom looks very innocent in this picture, but let me tell you something about her. This is 1961. My mother was the president of Cutie Pie, which was an all-girls sorority in her high school. They had sororities at her high school back in the day. And she wore taps on her shoes. She wore these big Oxfords and tight jeans rolled up and little cashmere sweaters like that. She has car crash bangs. What happened in there, car crash bangs are like when they're really short. She platinum dyed her hair blonde her entire life. This is a funny story of hers. And she would bleach her hair and put it up in a towel. Well, she did it one night and her bangs broke off from bleaching her hair and keeping it up in a towel. And after that, she loved how it looked, so she just kept it because everybody at school is like, oh my God, we love your bangs so short. Actually, a lot of her life, her bangs were a lot shorter than this. So anyway, but she was a badass in high school. My mother was a total badass. And she would get called into she would call it the girls' dean. She would get called into the girls' dean's office all the time, and they would say, we know what you're doing with the candy, because she would have all the girls in the school carry bags of candy, and then every time she wanted some candy, she'd snap her fingers twice, and they had to open this bag. And if they didn't have candy with them, then they were kicked out of sorority. I mean, my mom was harsh. So anyway, I mean, she was an original gang member back in the day, okay? 1961, sorority at high school in Indianapolis. But she was kind of a badass, and my mom would tell stories about like how she got, you know, had to get hazed into this sorority, and that my aunt came, because my aunt was 3 years older than her, and my mom was a freshman when she got into the sorority. And at the time that she got in it, she had to do like all of this horrible stuff. And my aunt came out there. And I mean, in today's standards, it's not bad. But back then it was, you know. And, you know, sing songs foolishly, dance around in your bra, things like that. And, you know, my aunt came out there and she was like begging her. She was like, please don't do this. Please don't. This isn't that important for you to, like, and my mom was like, let me do this. And my mother, till the day she died, would say, Kathy, her sister, came out there and said, please don't do this. Please, please, you don't want to be part of these girls. And my mom said, I told her, get in your car and go home and do not tell Mother what we were up to out here. And she goes, I came home that night and she goes, there were 24 long stem red roses on my pillow and I had made it into Cutie Pie. She was so proud of that, right? So anyway, my mom was kind of always this badass, right? Like, she was a pie fi all her life, and she didn't want to be a pie fi. I'll be pie fi all my life until the day I die. I wouldn't be a Kappa, DG, or Alpha Pi, Alpha Chi. Okay, I grew up on all the pie fi songs. But anyway, she didn't even really want to be a pie fi, but she was a legacy because of my aunt. So she was a pie fi at IU, and all of her friends, her entire life were pie fis. But my mother was like such a beatnik. She was like a guitar playing beatnik, right, at IU playing as a pie fi, which wasn't what a pie fi was back then. She was always different, and she always was independent, and she used to tell me stories about, my mother had a convertible when she was in college, and she used to tell me about how they would drive down. So Bloomington, Indiana, where IU is in southern Indiana, and it's probably about a 3-hour drive to Miami of Ohio, and she was like, all of the cute boys were at Miami of Ohio, and so we would drive down there on a Friday night, and we would she would not own up to this till later in her life, but she was like, we would party all weekend and drink, and then we would come back on Sundays, right? She goes, and I always drove. We'd leave at like 2 o'clock in the morning. And it was surprised me because as she got older, she was so afraid to drive. She would never get on interstate. She would never drive. She hated driving at night, you know? She hated to fly. She had taken all of these trips when she was younger. She went to, you know, all over the world. She camped through Estes Park, Colorado, things like that. All these things that she would never have done as she got older. Well, recently, I have started to notice that things that were never true of my being are starting to kind of edge in. I'm starting to find myself a little more careful when I'm driving at night, a little scared. You know, I'm starting to think more about like stability and security. And I don't want to lose that part of who I was, you know, when I was younger and when I was 20, when I was 30, because that's an essential part of who I am at my being. The thing that's hard is as we get older, we start recognizing behaviors in ourselves that our parents had that we didn't like, right? And that doesn't mean that they didn't have good qualities, because they had amazing qualities. My mother had some amazing qualities. And even if you had the worst parent out there in the entire world, there has to be something, even if it doesn't have anything to do with how they parented you, that you can find out about them that was kind of cool, that was kind of like, oh, at this one point, you know, they did staging for, you know, like a rock star or something. There has to be something out there, you know? Even if it's just they smoke cigarettes cool like Betty Davis, you know? But anyway, it's hard as you get older because you start seeing yourself become your parents. And then you don't want that, so you start resisting that. And for me, it's about accepting getting older and realizing I cannot do anything about each day passing, but that doesn't mean that I have to live in fear in a box inside and be like, oh, I can't go out at night, I can't do this. I have to push through that fear. And that has been something that I have always done my entire life. I've spent an hour on the phone talking to my sponsor about this today. We were talking about fear. And, you know, I was saying that I've always had to push through fear. Ever since I've gotten sober, anything in my life that I'm afraid of, I have to push through it, and I have to realize that on the other side, there is something beautiful, there is something gracious waiting for me. And this fear of turning into our parents or becoming older or assuming their negative behaviors that we didn't like is just one of those fears. And we can outgrow that too, and we can push through that. So if you're getting older, you're my age, and you relate to that, and you're like, oh my God, I see my mom doing this, and that drove me crazy, push through it, own it, talk it out, tell your truth, tell people around you, say, hold me accountable when you see it, and take the risk. I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.